gotta love this time of year. Only one can be champion. Let's go playoff racing.
I said, hey, hey, oh, oh, hey, hey, there's no surrender. Let 'em hear our battle cry.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
What could stop the charging Karl Modoff? Well, apparently some unexpected pit wall damage could. With 2 races remaining, Acosta finds a much more comfortable points gap between he and his rival. However, last week appeared to be a little bit of luck favoring Abner, and one has to wonder whether it's enough to get him to the end still ahead of the 2-time champion. LeMans could help answer those questions as we get ready to watch round 9 of the PRL GTE Sportscar Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Nick Schmeg. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Nick, currently the only French track here in iRacing, Circuit de la Sarthe is a unique one on the schedule.
Yeah, it's definitely unique for sure. And the first thing you'll notice is that it's about 2 to 3 times the size of any other track will be at a normal basis here in this series. And it's very spread out. It's a big 13.6 kilometer, 8.4 mile ring. There's no technical infield or stadium section or arena section or anything like that. The front stretch portion of this track makes up most of those 33 turns, which is a lot for the drivers to keep track of and try to memorize. It's a lot of famous chicanes, dips, crests, and S's where one mistake will ruin a very, very long lap. The other half of this racetrack is the Mulsanne straight portion, where 2 bus stop style chicanes added for safety make for some critical passing points on a long super speedway style draft sessions leading up to it. Throw it all together and you have the track that's probably most famous for sports car history in the world, the Circuit de la Sarthe here at Le Mans. Thankfully, we are not racing 24 hours tonight. It is only 1 hour. And to get a better idea of what these drivers are up against, allow me now to send you down to the hallowed grounds for the GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC 4 GT, so let's do a lap around Le Mans. Down the pit straight, you'll be picking up speed out of the relatively slow final chicane. Because of that, by the time you reach the Dunlop curve, even though it should be flat out, the fact that the racing line takes you off to the right means you'll need a little lift. Then you'll be braking hard for the Dunlop chicane. Those tall yellow curbs can badly damage the car, so try not to cut into the apexes too far. From there, you head under the Dunlop bridge and swing into the Chapel Rundown. Hug the car to the right side because you'll want a nice wide entry into the Forest S's. Watch out for the hump coming off the right-hander because you can lose the car by being too greedy on the power. Then you've got just a brief moment before you hit Tertre Rouge. This is one of the most important turns on the track because if you're slow off the corner, it'll hurt you all the way down the first bit of the Mulsanne. The chicanes break it up, of course, but this is still the fastest one of the three parts. Skipping ahead to the Forza chicane, picking your braking point will be tough but critical. Don't go outside of those cones to the left because you'll get an automatic slowdown penalty for abusing the track limits. Setting up a good exit would be wise because once again, we get dumped onto the Mulsanne. But this time, instead of staying to the left, you head to the right side since the Michelin chicane is the same but mirrored. And as you'd expect, you'd approach it the same. Sacrifice a bit mid-corner to ensure a nice clean launch. Finally, at the end of this notorious stretch of road is the Mulsanne corner. The kinked braking means it'll be tricky to get the car slowed up from such a high speed. And while the gravel on the outside can keep you from plowing into the tires, it also slows you down a ton, and that's really bad news since you've got another long straight ahead. Yet again, it ends with some devilishly tough braking at Indianapolis. Brake hard, get the car planted, and try your best not to let it swerve into the Armco. Quickly, you've got to bring it across the track to line up Barnage. This is one of the slowest and most frustrating turns on the circuit, but avoid understeering into the wall to the outside, which narrows up and makes for a dangerous exit. After a slightly shorter stretch, you come up to the Porsche curves. They start fast and tighten as you go. Bridge with that big blue wall can be especially precarious, yet require you to get pretty close to help carry your speed. Karting forces itself to be a compromise because you'd like to let the car track out, but it's best to stay tight to the right to open up the final left-hander. It'll be really bad too if you exit too wide because this is another monitored spot that delivers slowdown penalties. Maison Blanche is a flat-out nothing chicane, and now you're coming up to the pits. Make sure to practice how late you can brake on the way in to ensure you don't get penalized for an unsafe pit entry during the race. But for now, we're slowing up for the Ford chicane. Try not to take too much of that red curb and then power your way out of there towards the line. Hopefully, if you've kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around the mall. There you can see the track a lot better during the day. You can see they're running this race during the night as they work their way through qualifying, which is taking quite a bit of time for them to get around for their first laps. But as always, today's race is brought to you by SIMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at simsa.net. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products create an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. The winner of Division 1 here on the PRL GTE Sportscar Series will get a Butt Kicker Gamer 2 or a simulation kit. Also, both drivers of the winning team and the team's championship will get a free t-shirt. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. We still have yet more time before we get the first time across the line here in qualifying, so we got a chance to go to Nick for the championship standings.
Yes, indeed. The Drivers' Championship last week, we were getting ready to see the great battle between Abner Acosta and Karl Modhoff, the two drivers you see at the top. Modhoff had closed it in, and like you said at the intro, Joe, he got some weird netcode damage involving the pit road wall. Very unfortunate for him. That's going to put him back in the hole a little bit further. 25 points back from the lead there from Acosta. Still in it, but he's going to have to really hustle and really hope for some things to happen to Abner. Michael Diaz sits there on the podium in third. But he's not safe on the podium either, because Christian Eisler not too far back. And I should mention he was fastest in practice earlier for this race. So he's going to be looking to make up some ground there as well. Zach Hefner rounds out the top 5. He's 69 points back from the leader. Over in the team's championship, it is not so close for first and second. Obsidian Racing, they've just about locked this thing up with 2 rounds left. They've got a 116-point lead over Team Bushfin Copper. That's not what Team Bushfin Copper is concerned about right now. They're concerned about holding on to second place because the Racing Sim Tools Podium Hunters are only 3 points behind them in third. The Coca Motoclar race team there with Carl Modoff and Corey Clark back in fourth. They are in a battle of their own with SRT Esports East, who sit 173 points back from the leaders there in fifth.
Thanks for that, Nick. You can see that it has gotten quite fascinating here this season. Not what we expected when we started this thing off. Let's take a look at the race details for what you can expect here today. They have 4 different cars here in round 9 that they're able to run: the Porsche, the Ferrari, Ford, and the BMW. As always, and as it's been all season, it is a 60-minute race with 1 scheduled pit stop, but that'll be a talking point on this one with the unique nature of this track. And they have an incident cap here. Now, it's a little bit harder to get incidents here at Le Mans just because of the paved runoff they have in places. They've put slowdown penalties there, but you can still rack them up, and 24 of them will disqualify you before all is said and done. Once again, you are watching this on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure and subscribe when you get the opportunity. All you got to do is click on the big red button that says subscribe. It's on their YouTube page. Click that, you'll get all the PRL GTE sports car series in your YouTube feed. We've got a few cars with their first laps in. Abner Acosta currently holding the provisional pole. Now, you talked about the hold that Modoff was put in, and he tends to have pretty good pace most times. This season, he's tied on wins with Abner Acosta. But 25 points in 2 rounds. Considering Acosta's been in the top 5 every single race, I almost feel like this might be too much for Modoff to climb.
Yeah, I think Modoff's got that pace, but I don't think Abner has the lack of pace. I think he's gonna have to get wrecked out of a couple races or have some really bad luck happen to him for Modoff to climb back. But yeah, just purely off of pace, I agree with you. I don't know if Modoff's gonna be able to close that gap.
In fact, Acosta could actually clinch the championship here today, potentially, as long as he shows up for the last round as well. So right on board with Anthony Pisano, looking to set his first timed lap. That one is a 3:48.8. That's good enough for 6th for him. You talked about Christian Eisler being fast in the warm-up. He's sitting in 4th currently, and you made the comment, or either you or Sean, I'm trying to remember who it was. Someone made the comment that this seems more like the Eisler of old.
Yeah, we've seen him in past seasons, couple seasons ago, just dominate a lot of races. He would open up that cushion and just pull away, and that really gave him that nickname, the Iceman, where he would just nothing would phase him. He would go on through the race, the 45 minutes or 60 minutes like we have now race, and just dominate that stint and take home the crown. And yeah, he's looking very fast today. Right now he's sitting up in 4th, like you mentioned, about 3/10 back from Abner Acosta on the pole.
Yeah, we were watching from onboard Harwood, who's currently on the outside of the front row. His second lap is not quicker. Eisler's comes across the line, does not count. There's very few laps that they're going to be able to get in with how long the laps are, and the qualifying not being extended here. Only 15 minutes that they get. So, Nick, I feel like anybody who has those issues that Eisler has where they get the off tracks, that's going to hamper them here in the qualifying.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely, I mean, it's 3 minutes, almost 4 minutes wasted basically out of those 15. And 15 minutes, not very much time to waste there. And I believe Jeffrey Arroyan just went up to 5th place on the board, just barely over Michael Stogbauer.
We keep talking about Carl Modoff needing to make up ground on Acosta. Well, with Acosta on the pole, Modoff still yet to set his first time lap. He's coming up towards the Porsche curve, so we're watching Acosta just cross the line there, and his second lap as well did not count. But Modoff in his 948 Porsche trying to get one on the board and already running out of time. We are just about 2 minutes to go. So it's going to be this one and one more, all that he's going to be able to put down if he puts one down.
Modoff's got that Porsche right behind him. That's Corey Clark, is his teammate there with Molecule Esports and Kokomoto Racing team. So definitely a lot of advantages on the draft, especially on the Mulsanne straightaway being helped out there. But it looks to be helping more Corey Clark than Karl Modoff. I think he's trying to help him get himself up there in the running as well.
That lap didn't count for Karl. This is it. His last attempt. He has to make this one work.
This is going to be real bad. That's definitely not what he wants.
Takeshi Kita coming across. He also had an off on his first time through, and he had an off this one. So Takeshi Kita struggling. This track is catching a number of drivers out.
I noticed earlier Michael Diaz had a little bit of a spin in qualifying, and actually I just saw Karl Modoff stick all four wheels in the grass. It looked like. I highly doubt this lap's going to count as well for him. That could be very, very bad.
He is certainly going to have some very hard work to do. It's not impossible for him to take it to Acosta from the back of the grid, but I would not want to be in his position as we watch Pisano, the 777 coming through the Ford chicanes himself. He's got one-time lap on the board with a 3:48.8. Is this going to be any quicker? It will be by about half a second, and that puts him on the front row. What about Matthew Tina sitting in 8th? He was behind Pisano. Looks like he is coming through Indianapolis. He's already got 2 laps on the board with a 3:49.1 being his quickest. I think we will be actually Tina going to be the next one across and the first one to take the checker flag, but he's going to slow up. Looks like he's not happy with that lap. So Abner Acosta, our pole sitter, gets one more try. He's only got 1 lap down. He is also coming through Indianapolis currently. They will be able to complete their hot laps. One thing the drivers are noting, Nick, that I also kind of have been seeing on our screens is for some reason the track is incredibly dusty.
Yeah. Okay, good. It's not just me.
Okay, so I just looked, and looks like the track conditions reset during qualifying. I'm not sure. I don't think they've been doing that during the race, but it set the track back to 0%, which is completely green, which may explain all the dirt and dust that we're seeing kicked around. Essentially, it's as though the track has not been used for a while.
Yeah.
A bizarre decision, but it's certain.
And I'm guessing that's most of that is going to be just visual. I don't know if they're feeling a whole lot of that underneath them. I'm sure they're feeling the lack of grip in some places, but
yeah, certainly should be could be affecting the setups which are open in these cars.
Right.
As Acosta comes through the Ford chicane. Number 5 trying to improve on his pole position time. Not going to do it because he doesn't get that one counted. His teammate Diaz has brought them up in the championship fight, in the team's championship, where they are leading by a large margin. Let's see if he can do so in the qualifying, though. He gets one on the board at 3:48.2 finally, and that's good enough for second place. So Fernando Borda going to try and improve on his 10th place as well. Let's see what he's got underneath him. At 3:48.3, that's a big improvement. That puts Borda up on the second row and 4th place. Hefner going to be the next one in his Ferrari. The 1, 2, 3 car sits in 11th. Is this going to be any better? Yes, it is. 48.6.
And right behind them, Modoff took it to the pits.
Ooh. Clark got a time, but that's only good enough for 16th. That's everybody. That is our starting grid for the day. We do have a little bit of time left before the clock ticks down, so we'll take some time here on this qualifying because it is fascinating to see how this is all played out. Certainly in the team's championship, Acosta and Diaz are looking like they are going to manage to get those T-shirts. Let's go through that starting order here now as Abner Acosta, as I mentioned, is on the pole with a 3:48.2, and it is incredibly close between himself and Diaz. A 3:48.282, 1/100th, actually less than 1/100th of a second between the 5 and the 45. So those two could wind up battling for the lead. We'll see if Diaz gives way to Acosta since he's fighting for a championship. Diaz is a little bit farther down the order. Anthony Pisano came in with a 48.3, just a 10th off despite the long lap time. Third place driver could yet also be in this fight. Fernando Borda, not too far behind, less than a 10th back, starting from 4th position on the outside of row 2. Then you've got Nick Harwood, also within a 10th. Actually, looks like our top 5 all within a 10th of a second of each other, if I'm seeing correctly. Wow, that is shocking considering the distance of this track. Behind him, or next to him really, in 6th place is Pablo Valenzuela Uribe, starting in 6th, finally getting farther than a 10th away from pole position. And Christian Eisler, another 10th back with a 48.5, starting from 7th position, but still could very much, with the draft, be in the hunt for the win. A lot of drivers really could maybe do something with this. Jeffrey Arroyan will be starting from 8th, and then the inside of row 5 has Michael Stogbauer, who looked quick in the warm-up, but not as quick here in the qualifying. He'll be 9th. Zach Hefner got himself a lap in at the very end and will round out our top 10. Nick?
Right behind them, 11th place going to go to Matthew Tina, who we watched in qualifying. Maybe with a track with so much draft, we might see a Daytona or Talladega-like upset here go on with one of these mid-pack drivers. Leif Peterson going to be starting right behind him, a 3:49.9 for him in qualifying. It's Josh Daniels in the 07 car and Kenny Rodriguez making up row number 7. And row number 8 is going to be the last drivers to take a time, Rodrigo Munoz and Corey Clark. Here's where it gets interesting. It looks like row 9 going to go to Carl Modoff and Sebastian Macieras. That's tentatively going to be 17th place. Carl Modoff's going to be starting Dan Rooney and Takeshi Kita. Going to be rounding out this 20-car field.
Yep, it certainly is looking like things are not only going to be jumbled around, but incredibly close out on the track, depending on if they can get through the first lap without having any major incidents when everybody is packed up. We have seen that a few times here at Le Mans, where unfortunately drivers are set at a disadvantage just because they had to pick their way through a big accident. Just waiting for that clock to finish ticking down, which I think is doing so right now. So cars are going to get ready to grid up in this penultimate round for the PRL GTE Sports Car Series, and our points leader is going to be starting it on the pole. It is a rolling start, as they usually do, and thankfully we won't have to follow the Porsche pace car all the way around. They start just before the Porsche curves and then take them up to the start-finish straight, where they will be released, but they have to weave through that tricky Ford chicane. And I'm curious to see if they're going to try and go through there double wide, or if it'll be a single file start for most of the drivers. The other thing I'm wondering about, Nick, typically they have the Air Force, the French Air Force, come through and have the tricolor. I don't know if we're going to get that at night.
I was wondering that earlier. I don't know if that's set up. Maybe they'll go by and we just won't see them. The Ferris wheels lit up, so maybe the it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, there's not going to be a whole lot to see up in the air,
Right.
Unfortunately. If anybody in the peanut gallery knows if iRacing has the special planes flying overhead at the start, let us know in the comments, because right now we're kind of waiting to see if that's going to be the case.
I'm not so sure that smoke would show up there.
Yeah, it'd be a bit useless, unfortunately. We'll be able to hear them, at least on our end, and I guess the audience will too, as we wait for the last of them. Looks like Modoff and Hefner, the last two. Hefner's now brought his car out, his Ferrari. Carl Modoff is the last one that needs to bring it onto the grid. Now he's on, so we can get going as this 60-minute race is itching and raring to go. We've got a fascinating championship unfolding before our eyes, as the last 2 seasons it has been Karl Modhoff up at the top. 2 seasons ago, he won every single round, and then the previous season, I believe it was 8 out of 10 that he won, or some impressive number. I'd have to check my stats on that to see just how many he managed to capture. But regardless, this has been a huge change for him with a lot of competition, and just hasn't been able to perform like we've seen in seasons past. So a lot on the line and a lot of pressure on Karl. Finally have worked their way into the Porsche curves, working at a steady 50 miles an hour behind that pace car. This gives us a chance to really see some of this more street course-like portion of the lap going through Bridge, Nick. I always kind of denote that in my script as one of the danger zones, with that big blue wall right at the edge of the track.
Yeah, it's especially at night, a lot of drivers, you can memorize a track, but there's just something about racing at night where you're just not used to it. Some drivers are fantastic at it. We're definitely going to see the field get separated in that skill level today.
I can report we do have a flyover
Huzzah!
somewhere up there. I can hear it at least. I'm assuming. There we go. Our director's giving us a nice shot of the inky blackness of the night. Just imagine a beautiful 3 bits of smoke in French colors flying overhead. But now the pace car is peeling in, so we need to pay attention to the cars on the track. There you see all those headlights working their way up towards the light now. One of the few spots that are lit up. Here is the front stretch. Green flag is out. Some of them are too wide, but not our leader. Abner Acosta accelerates away ahead of his teammate, Diaz, and they get a fantastic jump over second and third place. That's Pisano and Borda, who are still working hard to try and settle out the last spot on the podium. They swing it through the Dunlop curve into the Dunlop chicane, and I think it's going to be Borda who sneaks ahead.
It is Border for now, but I wouldn't count out Pisano. Nick Harwood also there in 5th, and Pablo Valenzuela Uribe right behind him. They all stay in line together, and that's going to make for a very interesting Mulsanne straightaway with lots of drafting. But don't take your eye off those leaders, because Diaz is still all over the back of Acosta.
Oh, wow. I think things got a whole lot worse for Karl Modhoff. I think he may have got a slowdown penalty because he suddenly fell to the back of the pack. Maybe not. Maybe he just got loose off the corner, because he's usually those slowdown penalties on the first lap are a lot more harsh. Now he's going to pass every single car out on track, as we don't have Corey Clark out there. Rooney's the first one that he's going to get by. You can see just how much dust is getting kicked up as they stream down the Mulsanne straight. Not much has changed up at the front. Acosta is your leader. Diaz second. Third is Borda. You can see a few cars making moves into the Forza chicane.
Michael Stogbauer actually cut that chicane completely, went right through the sand trap.
Right, he's already paying for it.
Penalty, yeah.
Up at the front, Acosta holding off Diaz, but Diaz taking a look out and then thinking better of it, sliding in behind. They've got a big chunk of time between themselves and Borda already 1 second between P2 and P3. So with these two being teammates, I have to imagine they've got to be thinking, let's work together and try to continue this gap.
Yeah, even though we saw Michael Diaz peek out there and maybe look for a pass, I think he was just testing the waters right now in terms of how much ceiling shot you're going to be able to have here. They head down there through the kink, and Diaz, they know that both of them know the importance of team racing here at LeMans, and especially the whole point situation. I would expect them to stick together.
I think Modhoff definitely got a slowdown penalty this time, because he's fallen back to 3 seconds behind Daniel Rooney once again. I think that was in the Forza chicane. We don't need to go to a replay, but this has gone completely awry for our two-time champion. Already the leaders up into Indianapolis. Ooh, Harwood and Pisano now fighting. Pisano continuing to fall backwards. Considering he started a little bit higher than this, he loses out to Harwood, who bumps himself up to P4.
Yet another position lost there for Anthony Pisano. Just not been able to keep that momentum up here on the first lap.
Gridded up in third, and Pisano's now down to P5. Coming up to the Porsche Curves, which usually tend to be mostly single file. Hopefully a little bit less action for some of these drivers who are losing positions. And though we've had a few dramas with slowdown penalties, otherwise I don't think we've had any real big spins or contacts with the wall or other cars.
Well, we have had one, I don't want to say retirement yet, but one driver who is currently off the track, and that's Corey Clark, who actually had a crash with the system. Is a software malfunction crash, that is, not a racing crash, but he's going to be sitting out these next few minutes at least trying to get reconnected to the server, and that's unfortunate for Karl Modov's teammate there.
I spoke too soon. Daniel Rooney had a spin coming into the Porsche Curves. He fell way down the order. You can see our leaders have already completed the first lap. Abner Acosta coming up to the Dunlop chicane for the second time. Borda starting to give chase and keeping it within about 1.2 seconds, but he's not gaining. Certainly keeping them honest, as we've got a lot of time left to go in this race. Speaking of the time, I talked in the pre-race, Nick, about the fuel strategy. Typically, we see a pretty wide window for these cars around most tracks, but again, there's nothing else like it on the season schedule like this one. So is that going to narrow the window?
We're going to see just how much they work together drafting here on the Mulsanne straightaway like you see now. For drivers like Acosta and Diaz, I think they're going to be real good. They might even leapfrog a little bit later in the race to try to save some fuel. For drivers like Fernando Borda right now, kind of all by himself, trying to get a little slipstream off the back of Michael Diaz, he might be one of those drivers whose window is a little bit more narrow, and he's going to have to be a little bit more careful and going to have less options when it comes to strategy.
To go to it, Nick Harwood also with a slowdown penalty. He's way down in the 11th spot. For the lead, though, another little look. We saw this last time from Diaz, and for the second time, he doesn't make the pass, but this also allows Borda to start to close in. It is half a second, and he has certainly got the slipstream by now.
He's definitely there. It's just a question of whether or not he wants to risk it. I think he definitely does. He's going to look there to the right once again. This time the track's going to go into his favor. Into
the Mulsanne corner. He doesn't attempt the pass. Fernando Borda trying to stay with them. He's gapped Pisano, who is behind him right now, 2.4 seconds. Yeah. Right on board with Fernando.
Borda really had to do a lot of this work, too. He really did reel in Diaz and Acosta by himself. I think he was held up a little bit by Pisano and Harwood earlier in the race. He is right here with the leaders.
Just an update for fans wondering how the championship is shaping up. Modov's managed to get up to 14th. However, he is nearly 15 seconds behind Acosta. We'll keep an eye on that number. You can watch it yourself there on our tower on the left to see if he is gaining on the leaders or not. That's really what's more important, what his pace is compared to him.
Looks like Leif Peterson had just had a problem trying to find this.
Take a look at what happened. We've got the replay. He's down to 13th because of that. What if he... This looks like it's coming up to... Is this Mulsanne corner?
Was this another penalty cutting the course here?
Certainly looks like it. We're going to watch a little bit farther back. This is coming out. Oh, this is coming out of the Michelin chicane, so it would have already happened. Yeah, that definitely looks like a slowdown penalty.
Yeah. And right now he's come back really in the thick of it. He's got 2 cars in front of him. Josh Daniels is off in
That
front of
was-
him, and it was Karl Modoff who was right behind him.
Soda penalty seems to be the word of the day. I think that's what that was, because I don't believe that was... I don't believe he lost control of the car.
Just trying to yield out of the way, quite possibly.
Yeah, that's what I suspect. Just get off the racing line as quick as he could and give it back.
Interesting.
Wonder if they've been given instructions as well by
Yeah.
the stewards to try and be extra cautious. Well, that gives another spot to Modoff. He got by Peterson while we were watching that, and he is now up to 12th as well. But he is losing time in all that exchange. He's back to 18 seconds behind Acosta. Watching him come onto the Mulsanne, off the turf to the Rouge. That's Kenny Rodriguez, who's going to be off to his right side. And he's going to make easy pickings down this long stretch. Still only 10 minutes into this race. It's looking like keeping your car within the bounds is going to be the critical aspect of this.
It looks like Leif Peterson just had another close call. I don't know if...
Watching from Massier's perspective, who is just ahead of Peterson. He's challenging Rodriguez now, and he's got the inside as they come up towards the Michelin chicane. Oh, but they're going to be side by side as they break their way into there. Oh, and did they make contact?
They did. They definitely did. A little bit right on the corner of the car. That's going to allow Peterson to get a big run on him.
Watch the replay. Fortunately, couldn't quite see it from on board there. But yeah, this... Oh, as they come together once again, and all 3 cars instead this time make contact. Rodriguez manages to pull away. Peterson gets it going, but still loses spots as more cars stream by, and the worst of it looks to be Leif Peterson.
Yeah, Peterson just gave a little nudge there, a little boost to Sebastian Massiera, and he did not appreciate that. That sent him spinning it into the front end of Kenny Rodriguez. But I agree, I believe Rodriguez avoided a lot of damage from that.
Massiera got it going. I think Peterson maybe handed the position back, realizing what he had done. There's that one more view. Great job by all those drivers coming up to keep from making it worse, especially in the dark. Oh, speaking of the dark, we got a car turned around. Kenny Rodriguez. Oh, trying to, oh no, and he's gonna get rear-ended. That
Matthew
was
Tina. That's Tina.
This all started with Rodriguez on his own. This is coming through our Nage. The car's gonna lose control and whip around on him. Unfortunately, he's stuck just in the middle of the track. Are splitting him, trying to find his way through, and he thought he had a little bit of clear track. Oh, there comes Tina. Gotta watch that F3 box.
It's kind of hard to tell since it's so dark how much damage Matthew Tina has, but in the couple glimpses of street lights that we're seeing him in, it's not looking good on the front of that thing.
And he's coming up to the lit front stretch, so I do believe we'll get a better look at how that car is faring at this point. Just an update. Modoff now up to 11th, and he's 20 seconds behind Acosta. Let's see, with 25 points and the max they can get, I want to say is 40 points. Might actually be a little bit more than that. We take a look at the battle for 13th place. This is actually battle for 12th, I'd say, because that's Munoz there up ahead of them. We've got a train of cars. Massiera chasing. Kita's in 14th.
Oh, Daniels just went off again there.
Manages to keep the car under control, but Leif Peterson is there to pick up the scraps pretty quickly. Peterson recovers to 15th after many adventures already.
Yeah, and I don't know if that one was a slowdown penalty because that was in the grass over there that time.
So somewhere in the realm of 15 points, Abner Acosta, if he can outscore Karl Modoff, I believe that's the championship, as long as Acosta shows up to the last round. And that is because despite having a drop week, they are not allowed to drop the final round. Actually, I say that, he should still win it as we take a look at this battle between Eisler and Stogbauer. This is for 6th position. Right on board with Eisler. A dive off to the side from the 327. Getting awful close together as they break for Mulsanne corner, but I think Stogbauer's got this one under wraps. So yes, now that I've had to do the math in my head, drop week or not, if it's the 40 some odd points more that Acosta has, he cannot be overtaken no matter what. Another try for getting this spot back from Christian Eisler, not content to sit here in 7th place, but also not brave enough to stick it around the outside of Indianapolis. He backs out. This one looks like it'll continue on for a while. Behind them, Nick Harwood and Hefner have also been close together, but they've got Jeffrey Aroyan at the bottom of the top 10, making it a 3-car train.
They are still kind of separated by little bubbles here. Go through the S's.
We've had another big incident. Rodrigo Munoz involved in this one, and it looks like Takeshi Kita as well. This happened in Arnage.
Yep. Munoz, it looks like car just looks like he snapped on him. Masiera
did.
came into him.
Yeah, it's Masiera, not Kita, that I was seeing. And then Leif Peterson
then-
is the one you see spun
Yes.
to the side. He got clipped.
Yep. Yeah, Peterson came through and actually took a big hit trying to gather it up. Looks like he overcorrected it.
I mean, no surprise after that, Peterson decided it was time to take a tow. He's just been having an absolute miserable race. The darkness has upped the difficulty for sure, as drivers have been suffering from some odd errors. We're going to look at the top 3 drivers who certainly don't seem to be having the same problems. Acosta leads, Diaz in 2nd, and Borda in 3rd. They've gapped Pablo Uribe, who is in 4th position, by about 3 seconds. Noticing that Diaz is losing touch. Not only that, but Borda is also starting to get closer to the rear of that BMW.
He definitely is. That being said, Acosta hasn't really been able to pull away too much. It's not like he's continuing to pull away. He's just gapped him a little bit. And behind them as well, don't forget about Pablo Valenzuela, Uribe, and Anthony Pisano. They're still close together for 4th and 5th.
Ooh, takes a little bit of a look. But Borda thinks better of it. Clearly he'd like to try and get in between those 2 teammates. Maybe he could leapfrog Diaz to get up to the leader, Acosta. Borda looking at his stats. Trying to pull them up anyways. Borda down 21st in points. He has had only 1 top 5, no wins so far this season.
And that came last week, it looks like, at Road America, when he finished 2nd.
This is going to be a very hungry number 7 car. The question is he looking to just finish where he is, take the podium, or is he willing to try and take a victory? A little bit wide coming through Indianapolis. Still trailing behind Diaz very, very closely. One little slip up will hand this position over. Boy, he's getting awful close. This is the closest we've seen.
Yeah, definitely. The question is, though, does he want to make a move? We've seen so many issues before, and we're almost a third of the way through the race, but still not a third of the way through the race. Well, look at this, the zigzagging down the straightaway here. This is incredible.
Oh, did Josh Daniels just take a tow? Yes, he did. Josh Daniels with an issue. Trying to figure out where exactly he got damaged. This happened recently. Now, okay, this must be hardware problems or something. Maybe real life issues happening outside of the virtual world here, because you'll see him just pull over after coming out of the Mulsanne straight.
Yeah.
Doesn't hit the wall, just brings it to a crawl and decides to tow it to the pits, which sends him down to the back of the pack.
And Leif Peterson is also retired alongside of Witham. He's been involved in multiple accidents. It's not surprising to see that Porsche give in after a couple of real bad pieces of contact with the wall and other cars.
Watch the top 3 continue on. Oh, did Kita have a problem just now? Yes, he did.
He narrowly escaped danger just moments ago when we had that big 3-car accident, but apparently not now.
Yeah. You're going to see in the Ford chicane, car breaks away very suddenly.
Right as he's going over the curbs, it kind of slides over.
Locks him up very well, though. I mean, he didn't lose hardly any time. He lost 1 position out of it and slots him into 12th, but boy, he reacted quickly, and I think he minimized the damage. Nicely done. So we come back live and watch him continue on. He'll have to rechase Masiata down. Let's head up to 4th place. We've been watching the top 3 so much, we haven't paid attention to Uribe and Pisano, who are very, very close together on track. Working their way through the Michelin chicane right now, down the Mulsanne. They have no threat from behind. Michael Stogbauer, the next one, in 6th position, nearly 4 seconds back.
I was worried when we saw Pisano on the first lap lose 2 positions so easily. Maybe just getting a fluke qualifying lap, maybe picking up a little draft. But no, he's definitely holding his own here in the top 5 now that we're seeing him consistently turn some laps.
And worth pointing out that he's only about 6 seconds behind our leaders. So that's not a huge gap for the 777. Depending on how the rest of the race goes,
yeah,
I'd say the top 5 are all still well within a shout of a win.
That's definitely, I think, a pit stop jumping range.
He saves enough fuel, could be. Don't forget the battle for 7th place, Heffen Eisler. The Iceman currently trying to chase down the 1, 2, 3. Nick Harwood is in the mix here. Nick's definitely fallen down. Remember, he started P5. He's currently sitting in 9th. Also not too far behind from Stogbauer, who is in 6th. You can see him just up in the distance, leading this train. Did we? Whoa. Did something happen to Modoff recently? Modoff is grayed out on my screen.
Oh, and he just disconnected as well. Yes. Just now. This
trying
has
to see
got
if I
to
can
be a
find the
while
incident.
ago. He's in the pits a while ago.
Yeah, I kept glancing to see if I could figure out, you know, what kind of progress he was making, though. He was losing on the leaders. He was still climbing through the field. Yeah, he pulls into the pits.
Yeah, I
You know,
see
he
him
might have
pull
had
down
damage
pit road.
before that.
I don't see damage in the light on the pit stop. I really don't see much damage to him at all.
Very hard to figure out what exactly happened here.
Huh.
Regardless, this, I think, will give the championship to Acosta.
I think that locks it up, basically.
Yeah. Going back to Stogbauer. Hefner's caught him. This is for 6th position. Indeed, Hefner actually left Eisler behind by a fair bit. So is he going to try and make the pass as we ride on the gearbox of Stogbauer? The answer looks to be yes. Hefner goes to the inside as they come up towards the Forza chicane. Oh, but he's not all that much braver on the brakes. Goes the long way around to the second apex. He's got it done, but for how long? Stogbauer gets a decent launch off the corner and is trying to return the favor. Pulls it off to the left side. All this fighting will certainly help Christian Eisler. Gained about 2/10 through that last chicane. Now, fully ahead of Hefner, Stogbauer slots back into line.
That's a big power move there by Stogbauer as well to just so decisively come back over. He didn't want to take it virtually side by side through the chicane. That'll put him in front of it. We'll see if Hefner can get a run on him here.
It doesn't look quite as strong as what Stogbauer did coming out of the Forza chicane. He is starting to gain a little bit, but he lifts by the time they hit the braking here for Mulsanne corner. Get another bite of the apple as they fly down towards Indianapolis. Eisler still hovering at those 8/10 back, looking for an opportunity, but nothing coming for the time being. Side by side.
Oh, real close there. They're coming over in each other's lane. Hefner holding it around the outside there. Now he's got the preferred line. He's going to slide in front of him.
Brave stuff. I couldn't believe that they went through there too wide through Indianapolis, and this definitely now has brought in Christian Eisler, who has closed the gap.
Stogbauer is already getting another run here, though.
Certainly is. But will he try and take it too wide into another fast corner? No, he does not. So he's just going to sit back there. Eisler is down 1 position from where he qualified. Now in 8th. Could get a 2 for 1 if he stays patient and plays his cards right. Really, this battle, which is just a little bit ahead of Rowan and Harwood, marks up the last of the front of the field. From there, you've got a 33-second gap back to Sebastian Masiera, where the final 5 cars on the track are essentially just circulating on their own and looking to scalp any positions that fall their way. Coming close to the halfway point now. Not getting a pit stop with their top drivers. Michael continuing to hound Zach. Coming into the Forest S's, one of the more critical corner exits. Coming off of here, and Stogbauer not strong enough. And then all the more important here at Dirt Rouge, taking as much speed as you can onto the Mulsanne straights. Stogbauer is there or thereabouts.
I thought he got a little bit of a better run than Hefner did out of there. But I don't know if it's going to matter too much. Don't know if he's going to have the time. Hefner holding right in the middle of the road here.
The Stockbauer lifted. Maybe he was afraid he was
Think
going
he
to get
had
into
to,
the
yeah.
back of, Hefner. You could see behind them a little bit of a challenge from Arroyon on Eisler, but that doesn't quite work out.
Those curbs there, those outer lanes, those are kind of banked outward. It gets very loose and slippery out there. You got to be careful. Stogbauer maybe saving fuel here on the straightaway. He's only going about 3/4 of a throttle here. Less than that in some points, yeah.
Didn't make any move to try and overtake. I think you're right. He's starting to think long term.
And he is just coasting it through the turns here. These wide swooping S's, which he can definitely do. Get back on the gas and then half throttle it all the way down the straightaway. This might be some very smart fuel economy from the 327.
Something must have happened to Arroyon because he's fallen off the back of Eisler. Oh, sorry, they were side by side. I wasn't quite up to speed. Arroyon, unfortunately, not going to be able to make the pass. Oh, and same with Uribe and Pisano. Uribe's got the inside, and he's got 4th place as they break for Indianapolis. Uribe now moving himself up 1.
Good side-by-side action all over this. Only 15 cars left on the lead lap.
Attrition has come out a little bit. Out of 19 starters, only 15 still running. We're only halfway through. Very curious if anybody's going to be coming in this time. It's Abner Acosta, who's pulled a gap back to Diaz. We haven't really covered this a whole lot, but the leaders have spread apart. Acosta, 2 seconds to Diaz. Diaz, 3.5 seconds to Borda.
I really wish some driver would just come in early one of these races. It's a strategy we don't see enough. Someone needs to get out there and pull the Nick Schmeg strategy and just come down the pits because they're bored. They're sick of racing.
Nobody's in. Zach Hefner continues on. Christian Eisler's not going to come in. Now we got a taker.
There we go.
Ooh, and just as that happens, Jeffrey Arroyon spins out of the Ford chicane. That was a Stogbauer that came in. For those wondering.
And problems continuing here for Arroyon. This is where Takeshi Kita had his issue. Only he spun the other way.
Thankfully didn't hit anything in the process, but Arroyon's down to 9th because of that happening. Stogbauer now in his stall, taking his scheduled stop. Not seeing any other drivers coming in. All that's left is Munoz, Rodriguez, and Tina that were waiting to come to the pit entry. He's on his way now. Should be able to make it to the end. Interesting to note about Borda, he's already fallen to about 4.2 behind Diaz. He caught them before, he gained on them. And for some reason, it looks like the car is just falling off. So not sure why he's struggling with pace compared to before. Wonder if we could look as well at both Borda and Uribe's lap times. Because it looks like, I haven't been paying close attention to Uribe, but it looks like he's gained on him.
I think you're right.
Lap 4 and lap 8, he was quicker, but... Oh, excuse me, on lap 6 as well. So a bit of a yo-yo effect, if anything, with Uribe. He's faster, then he's slower, and then he's faster again.
And much quicker there on lap 8, over a second.
That might be why we're seeing him within about 2.5 seconds of Borda now. See if he can do the rest of the job, though. It's one thing to catch them. It's another to pass. Thankfully, with these long straights, it looks like it's offering a lot more opportunities. Closest fight we've got in the field is between P5 and P6, Hefner and Pisano.
Pisano really doing his best to stick with Hefner here, or stick with Hefner here.
Yeah, Hefner that he's fighting with. But not able to make a pass down into Indianapolis. If they do start fighting, that's Christian Eisler about 2 seconds back that you see kind of hovering in the background. So far, what was a bit of a topsy-turvy qualifying has turned into a chaotic start to this race, and then everything settling in, everybody getting into a groove. Drivers looking like they're really focusing on what they're doing and not what everybody else is, but I think our leader is in now. This looks like this might be the end of the line for the pit window.
And Michael Diaz is following him. Fernando Borda. Yeah, I believe you're right. Just about everyone's coming in here. At least the top 7, top 8. Yeah, it's the field.
Yeah. That's everyone from first down to 8th hitting pit lane. Takes a long time to get to your stall, though, with how many cars they have to be available for here for the 24 hours. You could see just how long it takes them to trundle down to get to their box.
I think the real question is going to be, where are these cars going to come out in relation to Michael Stogbauer? He was the first and pretty much the only other pitter on an alternative strategy, and he actually has been drafting with Rodrigo Munoz.
Acosta is back out on the track, so is Diaz. Borda just gets by the cones. Stogbauer currently is out of Maison Blanche. Not really much of a change between our order. Top 4, in fact, all had pit stops within 17 seconds. No more than 0.4 of a second apart from each other. Hefner, the first one with a slow stop at a 19.6. That's allowed Christian Eisler to gain since he was 3 seconds quicker in the pit stops. Those wondering what happened to Stogbauer after his early stop, well, he returns in 10th place.
Yeah, not the outcome I was hoping for him. I always like the oddball strategies.
Meanwhile, we haven't really gotten away from Pisano and Hefner being close to one another, although, no, Pisano was in front of Hefner before the stops, I believe, wasn't he?
No, I don't think so. I think he was chasing Hefner. This is a flip from the pits. But Hefner did get around him early in the race. I think lap 1 actually was.
Looking at the pit times, I'm going to say that that is down to Hefner's slow stop. We're going to pull that one up now as he gets a run. And Hefner might take this one right back down the Mulsanne on the left side.
He's got it.
And actually, yeah, Pisano lifted well early coming up to the chicane. Okay, you can see the difference in the pit times.
Don't count Pisano out, though. He's right back at it side by side again.
Yeah, he is going to try and bring this one back into his clutches. Only 2 seconds difference in the pit stops, and yet that change of position happened because of it. Zach Hefner definitely backs out on Pisano, but Pisano overshoots Mulsanne corner. This gives a little bit of glimmer of hope for Zach Hefner, who gets into slipstream immediately, seeing if he can get on by.
keep battling. Remember, even the first time they battled, Christian Eisler slowly was able to reel in to them, and he is the next car behind him.
Hefner's going to have the inside of Indianapolis on the kink, but it's going to be the outside of the 9-degree right-hander, but that won't matter because Pisano's going to back out of it. Eisler has it down to 1 second between himself and this battle for 4th place. Right on board with Anthony Pisano now. Ahead, it is Ferrari versus Ferrari versus Ferrari. Hefner, Pisano, and Eisler all racing the same make of car. Getting close to the 20-minute to go mark, which will mean the final third of the race will have started. These three look pretty evenly matched through this twisty portion. Takes us back to the front stretch. Why don't we run down your order, unless we get a battle starting to erupt. Give you an update on exactly how this race has been unfolding, starting with our leader, Abner Acosta. Put it on the pole. He knew coming into this race that he had a healthy points margin, but is doing all he could to ease the load coming into the final race. And since then, he has really run away with this thing because he is 8 seconds ahead of his teammate, who held on for quite a while. Diaz didn't even look like he was attempting to pass either. He had numerous opportunities down the Mulsanne straight, but the number 45, as I mentioned, well back there. Indeed, he's probably a little bit more concerned with the mirrors, which were filled up with Borda. Now it's his windscreen. Fernando Borda, with a good exit off of Tertre Rouge, moves himself up into second for the first time this race. As this battle's not done yet, we said we'd go until we got a battle. Well, we got one now here for the podium. Borda, not quite brave enough. Nope, actually is going to take it over Diaz. Diaz tried to come back at him. It's a little hard to tell what's going on in the dark with these cars at times.
Going to be another big run here, though, I think, from Diaz. He got a great exit. He's going to go to the right side. A lot of room given from Borda.
Almost
so close, almost contact. Yeah.
Oof. Borda didn't want to give this one up, but Diaz is going to get it right back unless Borda's good on the brakes. He's awful good, but not good enough. Borda squeaks through back into P2 where he was before. Or, excuse me, Diaz squeaks through.
Looks like that car was borderline snapping loose there. Both of these guys really on edge, pushing the limits here later in the race. Less than 20 minutes left.
All right, I think this one is settled down. So jumping back to Pisano, who is in 4th place, we might actually have a battle here as well. Zach Hefner within about a 10th, but that looks like a big lift.
Hopefully all of these drivers got enough fuel in the cars. They all came in at the same time, so you'd hope that they would, but some drivers might be able to, or might want to try to cheat the system just a little bit.
It's worth noting that with the different makes of cars, they do have slightly different fuel consumption. Yeah. Oh, Diaz and Borda are at it again. In fact, they're too wide coming into Indianapolis. And Borda's got the edge, but he goes a little deep into the corner and over under from Michael Diaz, looking to get clever. Tries to force him down low, comes back to the racing line. Did they touch? It was hard to tell in the dark.
There's a big slide from Diaz. They did touch a couple times, and he's flashing his lights at him. I think Diaz
didn't like that.
Diaz knows they touched. Borda flashing him back.
Right on board and listen. That looked like a little bit of side-to-side contact.
I think they definitely touched, yeah. So now that Borda's around him, after that big slide from Diaz, good catch, by the way, for the number 45 there. Diaz, how is he going to race Borda once he gets back to him?
Anybody in the YouTube chat know how to say rubbin' is racing in French? Borda and Diaz getting their elbows out. they're not careful, even though they've got a 7-second gap back to Hefner, if either car finds himself spun out. Oh, and that is definitely going to hurt. Diaz cuts through the final part of the Ford chicane. He's having to give that one back. He should have to give that one back. He's doing so very, very slowly. I swore he cut through there.
It was close, kicked some dirt up for sure.
He definitely did. I went back and watched it.
And now it looks like he's off the gas quite a bit.
Yeah, there you could see the angle that he was coming off there. First part of the chicane looks pretty fine. Diaz is the second in line. There it is. Ah, that was a lot of curb. Did finally give that time away. It's about 1.8 seconds up to Borda, who's probably happy to get away from that fight. I wonder if we could go to Pisano, because Eisler's getting awful close. Oh, but he's lifting. Eisler wanting to get himself a nice launch off of the Forza chicane. Oh, that did not look like a good one.
Yeah, I think that's going to have to wait. Pisano looks awfully strong out of there.
The only thing that is saving grace is the slipstream. They get up to about 175 miles an hour. But once again, Eisler just doesn't seem interested. Either he's saving fuel or he is just looking for maybe a late race snipe for the position. Hard to tell what's going on here. They're being chased by Nick Harwood.
Eisler's looking. Not
Poked
going to
his
have the
nose out.
room.
Fortunately, he's still not close enough for anything. Less than 15 minutes to go on the clock. What is Acosta right now? He's coming into Indianapolis. So I believe it could be 3 or 4 laps to go, depending on when he gets the line. But meanwhile, on screen, that's Pisano being overtaken by Eisler.
He got it. Right on the outside. I would imagine Pisano lifted again. Didn't hear it.
So Eisler's now got clear track ahead of him. Can he run down Zach Hefner, who is about a second and a half up the road? From there, it's going to be a lot more difficult to try and make progress through the field, because it's about 7 seconds from Hefner up to Diaz, who is on the podium. Into the Porsche curves one more time. Pisano stays with him. He knows if he can hold on to the draft, he could get a chance to get that position right back. Harwood, in the meantime, licking his chops, sitting in 7th, less than a second behind them.
Yeah, you mentioned Pisano just trying to stay in the draft. That's exactly what he did the first whole stint. Oh, a little bit loose there, it looks like, for Eisler on corner entry.
Manages to catch it out of the Ford chicane. He is going to be able to get through there safely and cleanly. And I believe it's 4 laps to go now. This is our closest fight out on track. For effectively 5th position. Eisler, your lead car. Pisano is the second in line. And Nick Harwood is in 3rd in line. 5th, 6th, and 7th on screen. Once again, on to the Mulsanne. We saw Eisler make good use of it to get by Pisano. If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, it looks like he might be gapping him a little bit.
Yeah, he was a lot closer to Pisano than Pisano is to Eisler here. I think he really gapped him there in the technical portion of the track through all of the curbs and the chicane.
But now that they're on the Mulsanne, Pisano closes it back down to about 4/10. He's going to be eager here to try and get the launch off the corners to try and reel him in. I think he just may have done it. It's now down to less than 4/10, 3/10 of a second. And he's there.
Yeah, just like that. Looked like he was done for quite some time, and he's already looking to go side by side. There's
Something
not much
happened.
racetrack left.
Something happened to Borda.
Oh,
Borda had an off at the Michelin chicane. This hands second place back to Diaz.
Man. Such a good run going for him, and he looks like he just lost it under braking, slid right through. Good catch, but yeah, the damage has been done. He's lost the ground.
Great heads up by Diaz to avoid him. I don't think this battle is over. It's about 1.2 seconds between them.
It took Porta quite a while earlier to close in on Diaz. See if he's able to do it a little bit quicker now.
I tell you what, that smoke is really scary at night from what we saw on the onboard. He could not see exactly where that car was until he was incredibly close. Oh, Eisler just got taken by Harwood. And Pisano is going to be passed potentially. Harwood's to the inside as they come through on Indianapolis. This could be 2 positions in 1 lap. Nick's got to fend him off coming through Arnage, though. Pisano's got the inside. Big wiggle off the corner from Harwood. Still manages to get the throttle down a little bit better and edges ahead.
Man, Nick Harwood, just like that, he was sitting back, he was lurking that entire time. It's not over yet, though. He's going to have to go over to the right to block. Now he goes over back to the left. He kind of sits in the middle. Pisano's on the right. He's going to slide in front of Eisler now. They all go in line.
They offer Nick Harwood. He manages to keep them back. Things certainly heating up in the mid-pack competition. Top 5s have been astonishingly tough to come by this season. Obviously, every single race, at least one of those positions have been taken by Abner Acosta, and he's going to claim another one with what will be his 3rd win of the season if things continue as they are.
Yeah, Nick Harwood's only got 2 top 5s this year. One of them was last week with a 3rd place finish at Road America. Looking to add a 3rd top 5 of the season tonight.
So that would be a nice little morale boost for the number 19. Going to experience the same thing that Eisler did. He managed to get by Pisano, but then Pisano ran him right back down. Though Anthony is about half a second, now almost 6/10 of a second behind. It doesn't seem like that is quite far enough back to break the draft. Eisler's going to have the front row seat of the action. Speeds getting up to 170, 175. Pisano was about 8/10 back when they came off to Turf Rouge. He's only gained about 1/10.
See if he got a good exit here on the last lap, and then he really launched forward, chasing down what was at the time Christian Eisler. Now it's Nick Harwood. See if he can do it again. Harwood isn't a Porsche.
Those cars tend to have good exit speed with the weight towards the rear and really pushing those tires to the ground, giving them traction. He does get it down to about 4/10 of a second, breaking into the Michelin chicane. Does this change? It looks a hell of a lot closer. It's still at about 4/10 though. He is well within the slipstream. I think this is going to bring him in touch by the time they hit the Mulsanne corner.
Yeah, I think he's there. The question is, can he get around him? Really not much time left. Not now, but see what he can set up.
And maybe pull something into Indianapolis. Lost a little bit on the corner exit, back up to nearly 0.5 of a second. All this ahead of Christian Eisler, who's lost ground to about 1.2 seconds. For some reason, the 727 struggling. Down into the fast kink of Indianapolis. It's as far down as 0.3, but we're not seeing a challenge for a position this time by.
Harwood's going to keep this spot for now.
I do not think this one is a done deal by any stretch of the
No, not at all.
imagination.
Pisano is still there. He's had a lot of practice in this over the past hour.
Stays right with him as they come into the Porsche curves. If you're just joining us, this is the penultimate round here in the PRL GTE Sportscar Series. And if you've been paying attention to the championship, we might just have a new champion in the form of Abner Acosta, because Carl Modoff has DNF today, and Acosta is leading the race, ready to take as many points as possible. Down into the Ford chicane one more time. We ride on board with Anthony Pisano chasing Nick Harwood. Two laps left to go now.
I'm wondering if Pisano wants to maybe wait until that last lap, because he doesn't know if he's going to be able to defend Nick Harwood. He might just be able to draft up to him and get slingshot around him on that last lap as well.
Let's come through the Forest S's. Watching Pisano's Ferrari chase the Porsche of Nick Harwood. Why don't we ride on board as we head down the Mulsanne? Just listen to the scream of these virtual engines. iRacing's done a good job with their recent sound updates. He closed in on him there, Nick, but did he overshoot
Be a
the
little
corner
too
there?
much. Yeah.
I love that screaming Ferrari V8, though. So out of the Forza chicane, the 777 still continues to see if he can manage to get back by the number 19. They are certainly dropping Christian Eisler. It's up to 1.8 seconds back there to the 727. Not missing anything up front. Our leader Acosta's gapped Diaz by about 13 seconds. Diaz also dropping Borda a little bit, 1.7 between P2 and P3. Borda's incident did bring Hefner a little bit more into them, but it is only a 3.5 second gap, which is still a little bit too far unless we get more slowdown penalties happening. Oh, Masiera had an issue. I think this is all on his lonesome. Number 22 car coming into the Forza chicane looks to have, unfortunately, lost control.
Always tough late in the race when that happens as well.
Speaking of being late in the race and things getting tough, wonder if some of these drivers losing a little bit of focus here in the end of 60 minutes, especially those without someone to battle with in the pitch black. Wow, that rear just absolutely snapped on entry. So we come back live. This is the battle for second. I mentioned that Borda had fallen off. Something must have happened with Diaz, because He's lost nearly a second to the number 7, and the fight is on for the second step of the podium. Just ahead of them, Acosta is coming up to the white flag right now. Man, Abner Acosta taking victory in the very first round. Took him a while to get the next one. It wasn't until Road America last week. Looking to go back to back. So we take a glance at P2 once again, still half a second apart as they also have taken the white flag. It's looking like it's going to be one of our best battles in the field. Diaz essentially just fighting for pride at this point. He is in third in the championship, and he will be gaining on Modoff. In fact, he might get second place away from him. But he is well away from Eisler, especially with Eisler being behind. At this point, he just needs to solidify these points, but I get the sense that that doesn't matter to him. Getting higher up on the podium is all the 45 seems to care about.
Porta is closing in. He might be able to get him on this next straightaway. Or at least close in. Yeah, it's a matter of getting around him.
Yeah, very much so. And it's also just a tick past midnight here at Le Mans Virtual Standard Time. They started it at about 11 p.m. So this is about as dark as it's going to get.
Yeah.
Porta's still not gaining as much as he needs. Closes under braking. Michelin chicane offers no chances to try and take it away. He's going to have to start getting aggressive here. If we have to, we'll duck back to 6th place where they've also gotten close. But this battle for second place between Porta and Diaz is feeling like something is about to erupt. Into the Mulsanne corner. Still Porta not able to try and make an attack.
Porta really slid it through there. He's really pushing hard. Diaz sitting in the middle of the road.
It's not going to be the last opportunity, but this is really the last hugely long straight that they've got. Now he goes for it. Looks around the outside as they come up to the Indianapolis kink. Diaz will be on the outside once it hits the left-hand portion of this sequence of corners. Can he break deeper a little bit? They're side by side, carrying the speed through the banking. Diaz with a beautiful move of defense.
And I agree. I don't know if Porta's going to have another opportunity like that. He's going to duck back in line here.
They get a little bit of a straight before they come up to the Porsche curves. I can tell you that Pisano is ahead of Eisler now. They come into the Porsche curves, and it was not enough for Porta. But now we've got to go to Abner Acosta. A 15-second lead. This one is probably going to feel pretty good for the number 5. This potentially could seal the championship. We'll try to crunch the numbers for you. But as he comes through the Ford chicane, Abner Acosta takes victory here in France.
And it looks like Diaz going to be able to hold on to this one. Porta really overdrove the last couple of turns here, and I think this one's going to go to Diaz.
Yeah, just fell way too far away. Diaz helping potentially clip the team's championship as well. Porta still gets himself onto the podium between Eisler and Pisano. Pisano leading them away, taking 6th place. Eisler 7th, and then Uribe, who we didn't talk about, follows them home in P8 very, very closely. From there on out, there's a lot of cars very spread out. Arroyon, Stogbauer, Massierta, Kita, Rodriguez, and Tina all on the lead lap, but with a lap of about just almost 4 minutes. That doesn't mean too much around here. We're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel as Acosta celebrates what potentially could be a championship. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC.
$40 of the best sim racers, $100,000 on the line. Who will rise to the challenge? This is the most competitive and sought-after season in iRacing World Championship history. This is where legends are made. This is the Porsche Esports Supercar. Welcome back to Circuit de la Sarthe. We just watched the penultimate round here of the Precision Racing League's GTE Sportscar Series. And Abner Acosta not only took the victory, but because we did the dangerous GSRC thing of doing math during the break, we believe that Acosta is your champion for this season with that victory. Michael Diaz, his teammate, came in second, but has not taken second, we believe. It's unofficial on our calculations. We'll try and confirm that. But he is still behind Modoff in the points, but only by one from what we can tell. Fernando Borda should certainly shoot up the points with his third place, and Zach Hefner going from 10th on the grid to 4th. That was a nice run from him. He was ahead of a bunch of cars. Nick Harwood was behind him, finishing with the top 5, with Anthony Pisano just behind him in 6th, and Christian Eisler grabbing 7th. That'll hurt Eisler a little bit since he was up towards the top 5 in the points. Then you've got Pablo Uribe also just behind Eisler at the line. He finishes 8th. Jeffrey Arroyan was way back there, but he still finishes in 9th, and the top 10 is rounded out by Michael Stogbauer.
Sebastian Masiera and Takeshi Kita, both of them ran into some issues tonight. They all finished 90 and 99 seconds back from the leader. Big laps around here. Kenny Rodriguez and Matthew Tina are going to be the last two drivers on the lead. Lap 13th and 14th, 15th place going to be rounded out by Rodrigo Munoz, who retired 5 laps shy of finishing this. Carl Modoff, we don't know what caused him to retire tonight, but we do believe that he is going to have a 1-point margin over Michael Diaz for second, still in the points. That's going to be interesting to watch next week at Suzuka. Daniel Rooney going to be in 17th behind him. Josh Daniels at 18th. Leif Peterson and Corey Clark will round out our 20-car field tonight.
And with that, we have our winner and potential champion,
ready to talk to us. Abner, congratulations. By our calculations, this victory should make you this season's GTE champion.
Thank you, guys. Very happy. I did the math on my hand as well too, but I did it the opposite way, like worst case scenario. So if that is true, I am really happy that if I'm the champion.
Definitely was an impressive season. This is your third win out there, and it certainly included a bit of a wait between the first and the second one. But the thing that we keep talking about all season is your consistency. Is that intentional? Were you trying to just mostly bring the car home in those top fives all season long?
Yeah, that was the game plan. When we first signed up for PRL this season, I saw the list and I saw a lot of good guys up there. I think I was like maybe ninth or tenth in iRating, so I knew potentially I wasn't like the fastest, so I knew I had to be consistent and just when other drivers would had issues, I would just have to capitalize with the top fives.
It certainly carried you to an impressive run, an impressive string of finishes. Next week, though, we are headed on our way towards Suzuka, which is a much shorter track than this one, but definitely a technical one. Can you finish it out with a fourth win, or what are you thinking?
I think so. I really like Suzuka, but it's been a weird season. I really don't like LeMans, and I finished getting the pole and winning. So I don't know how it's gonna go, but Suzuka is like one of my favorite tracks.
All right. Well, that doesn't bode well for those around you, but certainly sounds like it should be a good time for you. Congratulations once again.
Thank you, guys. I want to thank my team, Obsidian Racing, and my group of friends, MBR Racing, and everybody watching, and you guys and PRO for hosting this event. Thank you.
And we're going to have Abner stick around for a second time, second week in a row, because Nick is going to be talking to Fernando Border, who needs a little bit of a translator.
Yes, hello, Fernando Borda. Congratulations on second podium of the year, finishing third place after finishing second last week.
Hola, Borla, felicitaciones. Es tu segundo podio del season y terminando tercero después de terminar el segundo la semana pasada.
Buenas noches a todos, gracias Andrés nuevamente por la traducción. No sé qué haría si no se es podio cuando yo estoy acá, pero bueno, por ahora zafamos. Sí, por suerte pude hacer una buena clasificación nuevamente. No tuve mucho ritmo de carrera, me di cuenta que necesitaba un setup más veloz para poder estar un poquito más adelante.
He first of all he thanked me for translating because he doesn't know what he would do if I wasn't here to translate. Uh, yes, he got a good quality lap, and he feels that he needed to better his setup a little better to have more rhythm. He just didn't think he had enough. He just needed to work on his setup a little more.
We saw a lot of drivers out there tonight go off track and have a lot of issues. Did you have any problems tonight with the darkness or the vision? Looks like a lot of drivers were just struggling in general.
Bueno, vieron muchos conductores hoy que estaban haciendo off tracks o saliéndose de pista. ¿Tú tuviste problemas viendo porque es de noche o tuviste problemas algunos en la pista?
Sí, principalmente me traté de cuidar de los slowdown, que son muy traicioneros y costosos en la primera vuelta. Luego cometí un error, estando detrás de Michael, a quien felicito a vos también, Abner. Por suerte no fue trompo completo y pude tener la chance de estar en la pelea por el segundo puesto. Pero sí, con el desgaste del auto se empezó a poner más inestable y estaba muy cerca del slowdown que quería evitar.
Yes, he was really worried about the slowdowns mostly, especially in the first lap since they're very costly if you get one. He said that further down the race he made a mistake behind Michael. Luckily, it wasn't like a really bad mistake or costly enough so that he was able to fight for second place at the end. But yeah, at the end he had issues with the tires; they were gone, so he was just preventing slowdowns and just trying to keep those tires clean.
Yeah, it's a great race that you had there, Fernando, and second good finish in a row, second really strong performance, really. That give you much confidence and much momentum heading into Suzuka?
Fernando, llevas has terminado dos carreras bien fuertes con podio. ¿Tú crees que eso te va a dar, no sé decirlo en español, confidence
Okay.
para la próxima carrera? ¿Te sientes bien para la próxima?
Muy feliz de haber logrado estos 2 podios consecutivos. No sé cómo estaré en Suzuka, no he practicado mucho, pero intentaré más que nada ser regular y lograr una buena clasificación, que fue lo que me dio resultado para estar 2 veces seguido aquí. Gracias.
Yes, he's very happy with the finish from today, and he's gonna try. He hasn't practiced yet for Suzuka, but he said that he's gonna practice and try to focus on a good quali, since it seems that that's what's getting him up there and giving him good finishes.
All right. Well, we've loved having you. Hopefully, we can get you back in the booth and you can have another good finish next week and we can see you again.
Que esperan verte otra vez en el podio la próxima semana y que hopefully que tengas un buen finish.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Esperemos estar aquí y esperemos que alguien me pueda ayudar si estoy aquí. Gracias nuevamente, Abner. Gracias al equipo Rincón Racer. Y bueno, nos vemos la próxima. Gracias.
De nada. He said thank you. He hopes to be here next week as well, and he hopes that I'm here as well so I can translate. And he wants to thank his team, Rincon Racer, and all of you guys. Thank you.
It was a great interview with our third place finisher, Fernando Borda, Abner Acosta, translating for him. And up next is second place finisher, Michael Diaz, teammate to Abner. Michael, by our calculations, I think you're going to be getting some T-shirts because it looks like you have helped your teammate win that team championship.
Yeah, hi guys. That was one of the goals for the season. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about mid and later in the race, because it looked like early on you and Fernando were holding on to Abner, and then suddenly you started to fall off. Was it setup related? Were you struggling to keep the pace? Did you make a mistake that really cost you initially? What happened?
Well, it was both. First, the setup was really loose, so I couldn't really push how I wanted. And then since I raced in VR, it was really dark. I couldn't see much.
Yeah, I can imagine that makes it even tougher, considering. But for what we can tell, you're now only 1 point behind Modoff for second in the championship. Are you going to take that into account and try to beat him to that so that your team has a 1-2 in the championship on the driver's side, or do you not really concern yourself with that?
Absolutely. It'd be cool to get a 1-2 for the team and the guys. And I think there's a penalty that's gonna get appealed or overturned, so maybe that should put me in second, definitely.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing how Suzuka goes. Congratulations on a 1-2 out on track today in France.
Thanks, guys.
That was Michael Diaz, second place finisher here at LeMans, but I believe that takes us to wrapping up for today. So we want to thank our sponsors of this series who very generously, I can speak today, I swear, have helped make sure that this broadcast comes to air. Simulation Motorsports Affinity can be found at simsa.net if you want to see how they can help you get involved in the world of sim racing. And also a big thank you goes out to Butt Kicker. We mentioned that they are donating a bit of gear here in the championship, including those t-shirts. You can find them at thebuttkicker.com. Also, a big thank you to iRacing for putting us on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure and subscribe when you get the opportunity. All you got to do is go to their YouTube page, click on the big red button that says subscribe, and you won't miss a moment. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Nick, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. As we mentioned, we're heading over to Japan for the final round. That'll be Suzuka, Tuesday, August 20th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Even though the championship has been clinched, there's still plenty of spots and plenty of things to fight for. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.